Well, I'll tell you, InterMiami's hot as they get a win on the road and now a draw on the road, missing many players, losing two of them during the game because obviously Figal in warm-ups and then Robbie had to come off the pitch after getting tackled and that hamstring. But somehow or another, the lads found a way to draw on the road against a really tough team. One team is really happy, and probably Nashville's a little disappointed.
Yeah, there's no way Nashville's happy. There's no way they're satisfied. I mean, they have the frustration now of 3 draws to open their season. And then you looked on paper, at what InterMiami had to work with today without the Higuain brothers, who have scored 3/4 of this team's goals so far this season. Now, Pizarro did end up playing. He was a question mark. Robbie Robinson didn't start. He came off the bench and unfortunately re-injured himself. And Nico Figal came up with a knock in the warm-up. So much adversity for InterMiami. If you're Nashville SC, you looked at this as a great opportunity to get your first 3 points of the year, to pick up your first victory, and they failed to take advantage. So for InterMiami, this point today is worth a pot of gold. I mean, to be able to go into Nashville, tough place to play against a team that knocked you out of the playoffs last year, and to get even a point here today, this feels like a W.
Well, again, this is something I think we've been talking about from the first game when they lost. And I told everybody, hey, relax, man. There was a lot of positives in this game. The way they looked really was a couple of mistakes. Then they pick up the win last week, and now you've got all this adversity on the road, and somehow you find a way to draw. This is another notch here for Phil Neville, the coach. This shows that the coaching change made a lot of sense because he has brought stability, consistency,
character.
Yeah, and clearly his message is being felt by the players because the performance like this, I think, was enormous. And this goes, I got to put it at the feet of Phil Neville here to pick up this draw on the road.
And I can't help not ignore a couple of what-ifs in this game. I mean, you think about InterMiami had a couple of golden scoring chances within the first 10 minutes. They were on the front foot early on in the game. Nashville settled in, created more chances, had InterMiami on the back foot later, but InterMiami really looked dangerous early on. You had a big cross by Lewis Morgan to Jay Chapman. He couldn't quite finish it, couldn't get it past Joe Willis. You had another dangerous chance on the flip side with the potential assist from Chapman into Lewis Morgan, couldn't quite finish. And then, we heard the highlight coming in. Wow, I really thought the officials didn't do InterMiami any favors today because you had Robbie Robinson during his spell on the pitch before he unfortunately seemed to have retweaked that hamstring. He was pulled down, clear path to the goal by Walker Zimmerman, was pulled down.
Yep.
The foul was called, but it should have been a red card.
Should have
been a straight red card. They gave the yellow. They went to VAR to review it. I thought the right decision would have been a red card. They didn't show it. InterMiami ultimately didn't score on the direct free kick, but can you imagine how different that game could have been if they had played a quarter of it, the final quarter of it, up a man? Could have been a completely different outcome.
Could have been a different one. And let's talk to Shawcross's biggest fan here, Fernando Fiore, who is here, of course, joining us on the post-game show. Fernando, let's talk a little bit about this effort. You called the game along with Thomas Rongen and Chris Whittingham. One hell of an effort by the boys today. Yeah,
And on that note, Fernando, I never really felt that Pizarro is that great of a 10 because even when he plays for Mexico, he usually plays out on the wing. So, we've seen him not have the greatest output as a number 10 at Inter Miami. Got the opportunity to be the number 9 today and didn't do a whole lot. So, I mean, is the picture for you any clearer now after these last couple games how you would want to use Rodolfo Pizarro?
Well, listen, man. When you start building a team from scratch, and the GM started building a team without the coach in place, sometimes you're throwing darts on the board and you're trying to figure things out, and you have one vision, and then the coach has another vision, and now you've added a second coach. So the vision is going to change. The adjustments are going to have to be made. But this is what I love about this guy, Phil Neville. He has adjusted to what he has. He has tweaked what he can tweak. And along the way, if Pizarro is a man that he figures he cannot find a place for him and make him productive, then eventually I'm sure he will be moved. The beauty of playing for this team, the beauty of calling games for this team like what we do, the beauty for fans watching this team is they've got one of the best owners in the business, and he's not going to stand by and wait for a player to develop or something to develop or continue to make the same mistakes. They will make the changes. They have proven that over and over again in a really short time. So if Pizarro doesn't fit, eventually they will find a way to make a move and replace him. But that'll be that's the challenge now for Coach Neville, is trying to find a role for everybody. And unfortunately right now for Pizarro, he just hasn't been able to find the right place for him. Hey, listen, Lewis Morgan was an absolute stud last year. And so far, he has not been a stud so far through these first few games. So this is another thing that he's got to figure out and find a place for him. But while you're doing it, the team isn't suffering. While you're doing it, your team has gotten better and plays fundamentally sound overall. And that's all I can ask from the coach right now, because he inherited this team. So he can only make certain changes now. Down the line, I'm sure some of those tweaks are coming, as they say. All right, let's do this. Let's get a quick break in. We'll come back on the other side. Alex Dono will break down the stats and the scoring breakdown for us, of course. We'll go over the injury report, which unfortunately, the first 2 weeks it was actually a fun injury report because it was boring. This one, unfortunately, he's got material, and it's not good material, unfortunately. But we'll come back on the other side. Fernando Fiore, Alex Dono, of course, Orlando Alzagari with you. Abel is by our side. We got Sean Stanley down at the studios along with Alex Aguirre. We will take a break. We're coming to you live from Dangerous Minds Brewing Company here in Pompano, in the Pompano City Center. Come on out for all of the road games and join us out here and have some fun. We'll take a break. Back with more on the InterMiami CF postgame show right here on OnSideRadio.com. All right, welcome back to Dangerous Minds Brewing here in Pompano in the Pompano City Center. Come on out and join us for all of the post game, or actually the entire broadcast for all of the road games. This is our home. It is time now to break down our match.
You know, scoreless draws can be fun, believe it or not, especially in Inter Miami's case with so many absences today to come away with a point so valuable. So no goal scores in this one, ending at 0-0. Nashville SC actually had double the shots, the shot attempts of Inter Miami, 10-5. Shots on target were 3-2 in favor of Nashville SC. Remember, Inter Miami, both of their shots on target came in the first quarter hour of the game. Robbie Robinson and Jay Chapman had a couple of nice scoring chances. Inter Miami couldn't quite cash in. I thought they should have had an opportunity to cash in at a man advantage later on, but we didn't get that chance. Let's take a look at some of the other stats. Inter Miami committing 12 total fouls to Nashville SC's 10. Nashville collecting 2 yellow cards to 1 yellow card for Inter Miami. No red cards in this match. We thought Walker Zimmerman would be assessed one. He was not. Nashville offside 4 times to Inter Miami's 1. Corner kicks were pretty close. Nashville SC with 6 of those to Inter Miami's 5. And Inter Miami, John McCarthy in net made 3 saves to Joe Willis's 2.
Fernando, when you look at the team today, how do you what do you like about what Phil Neville did? Because obviously he was missing his most dangerous players to put the ball in the back of the net there. So there had to be some kind of an adjustment. But it seemed like he still kept an aggressive nature still and gave his guys an opportunity to go out there and get some goals.
Yeah.
I think they kind of figured out what they were doing, and then the same. It's not a potent lineup at this point because you took out all the firepower, unfortunately.
Right.
You know, eh,
Nice.
yep.
I
You know,
love our fans. I mean, they travel so well. I mean, every
Yes.
time this team, and obviously they didn't have many opportunities last season to travel, but I remember against LAFC to open the
Oh
season,
yeah.
it was crazy. It was nuts. And then last week, same thing in Philadelphia. We get such great support from our fans.
You know, Fernando, explain to people because okay, a lot of us have been watching soccer for a while and we understand the sport and all of that, but we got a lot of South Florida fans that are getting into soccer. And so maybe they're not used to ties. But explain why this draw needs to be appreciated and why this was a great draw for Inter Miami on this weekend. Oh, no doubt. It's a huge 2 weeks and a much better start also for Inter Miami
Yeah.
this year than last year. Everything about this year is completely different than last year. You're not putting yourself in a hole. You're putting yourself right now in the middle of the standings and an opportunity. All right, let's get to the injury report. Let's find out who's in and who ended up out.
How much time you got? This is going to take a while. So, yeah, you're right. Well, so a couple of pre-match notes. Figal picked up a knock in the warm-ups. He was going to start it right back. Kelvin Leerdam replaced him literally right before the match. Carranza missed the game for illness. As Fernando mentioned, the Higuain brothers were out on bereavement leave. Their mother, unfortunately, passed away last week. And then, during the match, Robbie Robinson came on in the second half as a substitute. He's the one who nearly, picked up what could have been a red card, did a nice job attacking the net, but he had to be subbed off, non-contact. It looked like he re-aggravated or retweaked the hamstring injury that he suffered last week. So that's a tough pill to swallow because I can imagine we may not see him for a little bit now.
Well, and here's the question. I'll start with you, Fernando. Did they make a mistake playing Robbie today? Because hamstrings are something that can really last a long time, and if you continue to aggravate it, it's going to be hard to overcome it. No. Yeah, it's a little desperation, right? Because you have no real threat on the pitch, and Robbie is probably your best threat right now. And so you've got to try to find a score, and because if you walk away from there with a W, my lord, that is an enormous win.
Well, it's just
team.
a little puzzling to me because Phil Neville had said midweek that they weren't going to take a chance with him unless he was 110%. So either very poor luck in thinking he was 110%, or like O said, they took a gamble and lost.
Yeah. No doubt about it. All right, next week it is Atlanta. And, of course, you'll be in the booth along with Chris Whittingham and Thomas Rongen. Let's see if the boys can get it done. And, as always, Fernando, thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight and the beautiful color you bring to the broadcast every single time. You got it, my brother. Thank you very much. And you got to search for paradise at the dashboard lights. You do that, and you'll be a happy man.
Thanks,
All right,
Fernando.
There you go, Fernando. Good stuff, my brother. Appreciate you as always. Bat Out of Hell is one of the great albums of all time. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, we've got our man of the match. That's right. Our Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant man of the match coming up. And, of course, we're going to hear from the head coach. We'll hear from Phil Neville and his comments after his team was able to bring up get a big draw on the road against Nashville SC at Nissan Stadium. On behalf of Alex Downham, Orlando Alzigari, Abel's by my side, we thank Fernando Fiore, Sean, and Alex down at the studios. Let's take a break. We'll come back with our next segment right here, live from Dangerous Minds Brewing in Pompano. You're listening to InterMiami Football on OnSideRadio.com. baby, a Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, where we are for every one of our road broadcasts. So come on out here at the Pompano City Center, Dangerous Minds Brewing. Follow them on Instagram, follow them on social media, and of course support them here personally because they got some great brew. All right, let's hear from the head coach, Phil Neville. He just finished addressing the media. Let's hear from his comments. We'll react after we finish his press conference here on OnSideRadio.com. That's the head coach, Phil Neville, after, I would say, a successful outing by InterMiami as they go on to draw with Nashville SC on the road. Big game for them. Talking a little bit about Robbie, and Thomas Rongen said he was going to come by to have a beer with us, and sure enough, that's what he's doing. And I'm glad he's here because I want to ask him the Robbie question, because I thought the coach brought up something really interesting, and I've kind of run into this situation covering athletes for over 30 years now. And he said, we didn't push him.
Yeah.
The boy wanted to play, but he also doesn't know his body yet. Unlike, let's say, Matuidi, who's been at it and knows when his body can respond and when it can't. And so it's one of those things that, coach, you're trying to play a player, but then he's showing you on the field that he's fit, he looks good, he says he feels good, but maybe deep down inside there is a little question, but he doesn't let you know. So that game that they're playing right now, that a 22-year-old still doesn't know his body and is trying to figure out, how do you play that game as a coach?
And that's a tough one, and I've been there and done that, in particular when I played for the Strikers, when I was 22, 23 years old, and I was fighting for a starting position, and I had a tweak, or more than a tweak, actually, and I forced myself, and I convinced myself and the coaching staff I was ready to play. So I came back very similar to Robbie, but 7 or 8 days. I pulled it again. I was out for 4 weeks, again, because I was afraid I was going to lose my starting position to Keith Weller at that time. I forced myself again 3 weeks later in the position. I re-injured myself, and I never recovered that year, quite frankly. Fast forward, when I was 30, yes, I did understand my body. But in saying that, we've come such a long way that Robbie trained on his own for a few days, not with the group. You have to test him the day before the game and say, you know what, Robbie, you're going to do 8 explosive sprints. And that will tell me, and you will tell me if I'm there. I don't know if that took place, quite frankly, with the medical staff, the coach, and the player. If you just rely on a young player, and Phil Neville just states what he knew about a young player, he wants to play and doesn't know his body, I still think at the end of the day, and it's easy to sit and second guess, it probably wasn't the wise decision. Now, it would have been wise if Robbie would have scored the goal and drew the red card.
Yep. Right.
But in saying that, a guy that went through some tough times last year, a setback again.
Maybe that's also why he wants to be on the pitch so badly, because he wants to kind of prove, hey, what happened last year was an aberration.
That's a good point.
All those
what
things go through your mind when
Maturity,
you're young. You want to perform. You were a high pick. You have disappointed so far. I've done certain things with injuries that I should not have done, and I paid, unfortunately, in most cases, the price. A few times I got away with it, but yes, the urge, the drive to want to excel and help your team, quite frankly, which you hasn't been able to do for a year now, and being that number 1 pick, sure, that plays in his mind, and they were so high on him. They continue to be high on him as well, but it also gave us an opportunity to look at a 17-year-old as coming in as well, and the future maybe of his franchise. So sad for Robbie, and a little bit for Phil Neville and his medical staff to say we might have done not the right thing as well.
Yeah, and listen to this. When I'm done with this press conference, the draw looks even bigger to me, because you think about it. Okay, the Higuain brothers are out. You see Robbie was not himself. Julian Carranza was out with the illness. Then all of a sudden, he reminded us of something with Pizarro, because we looked at Pizarro and he wasn't as productive today, but then he reminded us that he had no preparation all week. He's in Mexico trying to get a green card.
That's actually a very good point.
Then he shows up in the last second. Hey, let's go. You got to lead the offense.
Yeah.
And it was hard for him to do all of that in this week. And so you have to overcome that too, and you're on the road against a tough defense to go in there and get a draw, considering all of these things. And you lose Figal at the beginning of the game too.
And to add to that,
this draw this is almost like a win.
Right, especially, when we found out that Figal pulls up hurt in training minutes before the match, I kind of felt like this game feels cursed. You're dealing with so much adversity to begin with. Then you lose one of your important starters on the back line in Figal. And then, of course, what happened to Robbie in the second half. Really, I'm not going to say fortunate because these guys earned it, but I feel fortunate as a supporter of this club that they're able to come away with a point with
Huge.
everything working against you in this game.
Huge.
Yeah, Donovan is absolutely right. And you're 2-0. You're under the circumstances. Great. And also, within this draw, which is now a win and a draw on the road,
Yeah.
in two places where we weren't very successful last year, by the way.
Yeah.
Not won against Nashville in 3. Had not scored, I think, in 3
Ladies,
as well.
ladies and
We
gentlemen, it
haven't,
was
but we
0
kept
and
it-
5
we
last
kept
year
the
to start
clean
out the
sheet,
year,
but
right?
How
Wasn't it
good
0 and 5?
was Ryan Sawgrass,
Yeah.
by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Now you go, whoa, we have an organizer. Now we go, Figal definitely can be our right fullback. And saying that, kudos to Leerdam to, being in tune, by the way, because a lot of times if you're a reserve, you turn off a little bit. And for him to jump in there after the warm-up when Figal happened something, for Leerdam to come in and play a great game. Breck Shea gave us something off the bench as well that was positive. We got a young player. We give him a chance to meet more positives than negatives.
Absolutely.
The only thing again after the third game is outpossessed by the opponent. First game.
Well, I don't care about that.
No, true. No, I'm absolutely with you, dude. You go on the road sometimes, you take whatever you can
Yeah,
get.
sometimes
which
it's an
which they
overrated
did
stat.
in Philly as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
you're
A little
right.
lower possession, but found a way to win. So there's a mental strength right now among this team and a leadership, starting with Sawgrass. And all of a sudden, LGP also, no fouls, playing
Yeah.
within himself. Because
Yeah.
Sawgrass is a calming influence and so smart as well. We got to only figure out if he's athletically mobile enough against some of the fast forwards. But so far, so good in terms of defending for Miami. We knew in that final third with the Higuains we're going to lose something, and with Robbie Robertson also not starting. So, man, I say the best two chances of the day just fell for us in the first 15 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a
Yes.
save by Willis, by the way.
Yes.
On Morgan, and then it's Morgan to Chapman, I
Chapman.
think,
Right.
later. And it was a combination Chapman to Morgan in the first 15 minutes. Where, by the way, Nashville had conceded 4 goals in the first 15 minutes. That could have been the game right there. But you guys are right. Let's take this draw, baby.
Yeah,
and
considering
build
all
on
the
it.
adversity, I think it was pretty awesome. So it's a good moment for the club. And again, the coach is showing me that he communicates. His team is prepared. And when you just talked about guys coming off the bench and they were in tune, that's a credit to the coaching staff too, to make sure you keep your guys prepared constantly. Stay on top of them. Hey, we're going to need you. We're going to need you.
Yeah. Not negative, but statement again. Under duress, your highest paid player has been taken off in 2 games now. Pizarro.
Yeah.
What's the future when everybody's healthy?
Yeah.
That becomes very important, obviously. As much it was tough for Pizarro under the circumstances with the travel to say, hey, you got to play as a number 9 right now, but still, you'd like to think in the later stage of the game that your go-to guy, or you
Right.
pay the big bucks that he stays in the field and makes a difference.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a telling tale too. And going back real quick to language, guys, I coached Chivas USA and I took Spanish lessons and I did my pre-game talks in Spanish and English. And the Spanish players really appreciated that. The mere fact that I hear Phil Neville, English and Spanish on the sidelines, you guys know Hispanic players. They like that. They want
Yes.
to feel
Yes.
emotionally wanted, and Phil is able
We're
to
warm
connect
people.
right now.
We're warm people. We like to
What do you mean
connect.
we are. Where are you from?
Cubano.
Si,
I'm
senor.
born in Belgrade,
You are.
Florida, but Padre is Cubano.
You are a warm person, Big
Yes,
O,
yes.
regardless where you're from.
Yes. There you go. That is the legend right there, Thomas Rongren. All right, it is time now to get to our Checkers Old Munchin German restaurant man of the match. I think that's going to be, it's an easy selection for you, right, Mr. Dono?
Yeah, Thomas Rongen hit the nail on the head. Ryan Shawcross was the man of the match today, the veteran center back who, he made his InterMiami debut last week, playing 11 minutes as a substitute, goes from the start today. Prior to the 11 minutes last week, he hadn't played a competitive match since December 8th of 2020. So the fact that the fitness levels were up to par is pretty incredible, and it's a testament to his work ethic. And of course, with Shawcross, he has the pedigree. This is a class player, and you could see that on the pitch. At 33 years old, he may not have quite the speed and the range that he had as a younger player, but the intelligence is on point. The timing was on point. I mean, how many big headed clearances did he have, intercepted passes he had? I mean, InterMiami getting that clean sheet today, doesn't happen without Ryan Shawcross. He's the man of the match.
There you go. Ryan Shawcross is our Checkers Old Munchin German restaurant man of the match. You can find them at 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach, and you can follow them on Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant on IG. Got it.
See you, man. Thanks for
Thank you,
coming
my
by.
brother. That's our Checkers Old Munchin German restaurant man of the match. When we come back on the other side, Austin Robillard is going to break it down for us. As always, you know, Austin and of course, Kai Chen Chisholm. Those are the young lads that always break it down all week long. Austin is here. He'll join us on the other side when we come back, coming to you live from Dangerous Minds Brewing Company here in Pompano at the Pompano City Center. Back with more of the InterMiami CF postgame show on OnSideRadio.com. welcome back to Dangerous Minds Brewing in Pompano. Come on out and join us. Hey, not just for all the road games, but anytime you're looking for a great place to come and hang out, watch some soccer, watch your favorite football team. They've got all the TVs going on, the great, amazing brew and great food out there, man. So come on out to Dangerous Minds Brewing here in Pompano at the Pompano City Center. It is time now to get the breakdown from Robillard and Chisholm. All right, so, well, listen, Inter was missing several players. Well, today we're missing Kai Chen Chisholm. He is on the IR. But, of course, Austin Robillard always here. You can catch him on Red Card Radio every Saturday from 11 to 1 p.m. Austin, you got to hear all the press conferences. You watched the game here with us at Dangerous Minds Brewing. Your thoughts?
Well, when I look back at the game, I'm upset about two things. For the most part.
Red
Overall,
card.
a red card and Robbie Robinson coming on, right?
You're not upset about Red Card Radio. You're upset about
Exactly,
Red Card.
exactly.
You got something
No.
to talk about on Red Card
Exactly.
Radio.
I love my show. No, those are the two things I'm mainly upset about, and I guess Neville did clear them up in the press conferences a little bit. First of all, something that I don't really hear from a manager, he agreed with the referee. I don't know if you guys heard that. When
I
you guys
did.
He agreed with the referee, said he was spot on. It was a tough decision. He told the fourth official to tell the head referee that it was a good decision. I'm just mind blown by that. Usually I've been agreeing with Neville, but that I do not.
Wait a minute. Maybe he's buttering him up so the next time there's a borderline call.
4D chess.
Because
I
as
gotta
Donald
tell you,
knows,
it's kind of like child psychology he's playing on him there.
as
you know?
Donald knows, Don Garber, the MLS, and pro referees have never been on our side, so I guess now's the time to start working on it. And then the Robbie Robinson decision, I mean, I knew he was injured. Everybody knew he was injured, a muscle injury. You never want to risk that, and I honestly expected him not to see the field or even be on the
No, it
other
would have
team.
been a 3-0 loss.
Right, yeah. Same thing with the Philadelphia game. I think you would have lost that game as well. And now you come away on a road trip with 4 points as opposed to none, going back home to Atlanta or to Fort Lauderdale to play Atlanta on Mother's Day. I mean, things are looking up. And we have to also remember this was with a depleted squad. No Carranza. We didn't even know if Robbie was going to play. Pizarro was playing on 1 day's training. No Higuain. No other Higuain. I mean, there were so many different factors here and variables. Neville had to just throw something out there.
They had no business even drawing in this match.
No, not at all. Not even at all. And he was playing players in positions that they're not used to playing because Neville said on day one he has a non-negotiable style of play. And he has shown that today. Whether it was Jay Chapman playing on the left outside in an uncomfortable position or Ulloa playing as a number 10, he wants to play a certain way. He's not going to change it because of his personnel. He's going to try and mold the team to what he wants to do, and that's what we saw today. And no, Ulloa and Chapman weren't great. I have to admit I don't like when they play, but it is what it is. But they fit into Neville's style the way that he asked them to, and that's exactly what happened. And we come out with a point, and you have to be delighted with it. Yes, I wanted him to get a goal. The first 10 minutes, you should have had a goal, or maybe two. The Chapman to Lewis Morgan connection from wing to wing looked really, really, really good. It didn't connect, and Joe Willis made 2 great saves, and it is what it is. But McCarthy wasn't really tested. Shawcross, as we said, was man of the match. He played really well, and overall was a really decent performance given the circumstances. I didn't even mention the Figal training injury, so there was that too.
You know, and I want to stay on Shawcross because I remember you saying months ago on Red Card Radio after he was signed that, you thought he was coming in as the starter. Now, that wasn't
Opposite.
the opposite. You thought he was coming in for depth.
Right.
Well, but it looks like now, so let's take that opposite approach now, okay? Now, obviously, Figal was going to start out on the right until, he picked up a knock, but so it was going to play out this way. Do you think now that perhaps InterMiami's best back line involves Shawcross starting at right center back and Figal starting at right back?
Yes, I do, and I got a lot of opposing opinions about my Figal at right back stuff, and this was before just this game. I was talking preseason about Figal playing as the right back, and I questioned it. I talked with a bunch of people about it, and not a lot of people were on board, but I kind of liked it. I didn't mind it, and that was before the Leardom signing. When Leardom came in, you had to think that he was going to be the number 1, but after what Figal did in just 4 minutes as being substituted on as a right back, he had an assist. He got down the pitch, beat a defender, and he looked good. And then the way Shawcross looked against Philly in his couple of minutes that he was on was very commanding. And then today, he was such an aerial threat. Nobody's going to win a header against him. I think that our best line is Jovan Jones, LGP, Shawcross, and Figal. Leardom, they want to see him as an attacking threat. I think Neville said that as well, that when they brought him in, they wanted to see him go forward more. We hadn't really seen that, and I think you should put Figal out there because he is your best player available.
And on that note, I don't see any problem with having depth at right back because Leardom can still provide that because they're going to have more depth at left back when Kieran Gibbs arrives. So why not have more depth at right back?
And then you have to think, too, about the center back depth. The only person other than LGP, Shawcross, and Figal is Christian McCoon, who's still young and unproven. And then behind that is Ami Mabika, who I don't even think he signed a first-team contract. So that's where it gets to be a little iffy. And that's why I was very, very upset about the Nealis trade, who we actually didn't see today. But when you trade away Nealis and you use Figal as a right back sometime down the line, Leardom is your other center, or is your backup right back, and you got nobody else to cover Shawcross and LGP. So those two things, I think you might see a midseason move. I don't know for another center back unless they really trust Christian McCoon to be that guy as a backup center back. Then sure, but that's why I was very critical of the Nealis trade.
Speaking of moves, Pizarro.
What do we do there?
Is he fitting what the coach wants to do?
Yeah. He was in
Try him at center back. What do you have to lose?
Now this week, I almost don't even want to hold it against him because I thought the coach made a great point in the post-game show. Remember, this guy was in Mexico all week getting a green card, and then he shows up, and it's like, hey, we need you to do this, and you haven't even practiced or prepared for this match. So I kind of don't want to hold it against him, but he has not been a factor, and you have subbed him off now a couple times.
I have to ask you a question, both of you. Do you guys remember the first 45 minutes against LA Galaxy? Pizarro was arguably our best attacking player.
I do
honestly,
remember.
Okay,
and he earned the penalty kick that they got, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Off a pass from Robbie Robinson. He got tired. I understand that, and everybody was fatigued game one. Came off, and then ever since then, doesn't seem like he's recovered. Against Philly, he wasn't great. Was not in that first half LA Galaxy
you
form.
think he's not 100%?
And I don't think he's 100%, and I also think today didn't help because he's playing in such an uncomfortable position to him and what he's done with his team for so long.
Right.
And the quality around it. I'm sorry, but if I'm a striker and Victor Ujoa is
yes.
my number 10, I'm not going to be pretty.
That's a great point.
Then lastly, too, none of the balls were to his feet. He had 28 touches in 67 minutes. That's not Rodolfo Pizarro. None of the balls were to his feet. Everything was coming over the top. He had to control it down the line, and it just didn't seem like it wasn't his best performance. I get it, but I'm not going to fully blame it on him. He does need to step it up. I'm not saying that he's been great for us. I think he needs to step it up, and yes, you might have to ponder a move for a DP who's not contributing the way you want him to. I understand it, but it's a 34-game season. We're in Game 3, and with all the variables that were today, I don't think we should focus too heavily on this performance. Let him go back into a number 10 role and see what he can do with Higuain up top.
That's great logic, and that's why you should be listening to Red Card Radio every Saturday from 11 to 1, and, of course, listening to the InterMiami Minute every single day. Go ahead, Donna, what were you going to say?
No, I think that's very well said with Pizarro because sometimes we forget that this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? I mean, you're talking about a 34-game-long regular season, and InterMiami are off to a pretty nice start. They did lose their first match, but 4 out of 6 points on the road. Obviously, Pizarro is going to get more chances. He's too important to this team in theory not to, so we'll have plenty of time to let him sort it out.
No doubt. All right, what do you got going on this week as you get ready for Red Card Radio on Saturday?
Oh, man, I can't wait to talk about the Manchester United protests with the Glazers. Obviously, all this Inter-Miami stuff leading up to the Atlanta game. I'll recap this game as well.
If you need me to
We got
recap a Scudetto season
this week, too.
Or is that this week? Really? You play Montreal midweek?
No, I think it's the following week.
I think it's the following week.
week?
I think it's
Okay.
the following week, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, still, a lot of stuff lined up. With MLS, I like to go around the league like David Dwork does. He does around the pond.
But it is this coming week. Don't we play on a Sunday and then a Wednesday?
Yeah, but so
That's what I mean, that
so
next week is-
I see what you're
That's
saying.
I
I
mean,
thought
that
you meant we had a
next week it's
midweek
Atlanta,
this
and then
week.
3 days later.
Oh,
Montreal.
yeah.
So I'll be covering the Atlanta and Montreal game this Saturday on Red Card Radio. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's a tough week. It's good to get the what's it called, the ammo back that they need big time, man. Let's hope they can get a couple victories there. All right. So what else do you got going on this week?
Other than the Manchester United protest, we're going to obviously follow up with the Champions League semifinal games as well. With the second leg's coming, see if Chelsea can pull off a result, see if Man City can keep PSG held to no goals, I guess, while they go into Manchester, see how the final would line up. And obviously, my club again in Manchester United beat Roma 6-2, and they're probably going to have to go on to this.
That was beautiful, by the way.
I know you loved that one. I know you did. But yeah, so the Europa League stuff and Champions League stuff all over Europe. We cover everything.
And tell them how to follow you on social media.
At Austin Robillard. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. I'm only ever tweeting about InterMiami and football, so if that's your thing, and if you're listening to this, I'm sure it is, make sure you check me out.
Yeah, no, crypto, you'll get it on my feed. Not on his.
I follow that too.
There you go. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. We thank Abel. Excellent work here down at the studios. Sean Stanley and, of course, Alex Aguirre. All three of these guys, without them, we could not put it together. Great work by them. We thank all the great people out here at Dangerous Minds. Thomas Rongan, the legend, for stopping by and having a brew with us. And, of course, it's always an honor to do it with you guys, Alex Dono and Austin Robillard. It is a pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. And we thank all of you for tuning in and supporting us here, whether you came here and hung out with us at Dangerous Minds or you were listening or watching on YouTube. We appreciate it. Don't forget to tune in starting at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning on OnSide Radio as Toast will start your day. Then we will have Inside the Paint tomorrow with Ethan Skolnick and Ira Winderman, the best basketball show in town. I'll be rocking at noon. Alex Dono will be rocking at 3. We will see you all tomorrow on OnSideRadio.com.